It's about to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause the stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause the stream is about to start. Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? We are very late, but we are here, and I'm not alone. It may not seem like it, but we are not alone. I'm not alone, and you are not alone. Hello, Arya. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I don't have my whole thing is dying. My computer, so amongst the last victims of it were my webcam. So.
But in good news. But before we get to the good news, Arya, are you backing up? Do you have backups of everything? Because when your computer dies, it's gonna die all at once. Do you have backups?
I have backups of what I have backups of, but actually I have a hard drive that contains some stuff I wish I had more backups of, and it's not being read, so I run like first aid on it, and then I transfer like 50 gigabytes, and then it breaks again, and I run first aid again. And it's 2 terabytes, so by my count, it'll take about 40 days until I can get all the stuff off of it. But other than that, yeah.
Okay, and do you have off-site backups as well, in case like things go really wrong?
I do not, no.
You should. You definitely should. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Do you pay for a cloud, or what do you do?
Okay, I can do some free advertising. I use this service called Backblaze. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Yep, it is awesome. I love the backup thing. It works so well, so easy to set up. And if you need to, the way you set up is just you download an app and you say, okay, and you give it a password. It is going to do the thing. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's like what is the name of the thing? It's like Time Machine. Works super well. You just set it and forget about it. And if you do need to restore things one by one, you can easily do that by downloading stuff from the website. If you need to download the whole thing because your 2 terabyte drive failed, then you can pay them. They will send you a hard drive and you can return the hard drive. And of course, you have to put some money in to get the hard drive, but they return the money to you, so it's great. And they also have something
Does it affect your computer performance?
Not noticeably, no.
Okay, cool.
And there are ways for you to specify, like, I don't want to use as much network when something happens. You can schedule things. And if you're like, for whatever reason, you're outside and you're using your phone to go online, then you don't want your computer running backups at that point. You can set these kinds of things up. And Backblaze also has this other service. So if you have things like podcasts or videos that you don't want to have on YouTube, that kind of thing, you can just upload files, no matter how big they are, and it's super inexpensive. It's much cheaper than things like Amazon for that end. So,
how much do you pay for it a month?
I don't even know, because I pay it, I guess, every 2 years. So every 2 years when the bill comes up, I'm sad because it's expensive. But then I just forget about it and I'm fine.
Nice.
Yeah. And if you, of course, if you pay for 2 years, you get a bigger discount. And Bo is here. Hello, Bo. How's it going?
Hi, Bo. I'm just gearing up to release the song that we did together, Bo. I'm just waiting for the artwork on it, which I asked a friend of mine to do, and it's taken a while, but beggars can't be choosers is free labor.
Right. So what do we have on the menu today, Arya?
So let's start with the pitch shifter, because I guess you fixed the bug.
Yeah, so usually when I stop streaming, I go over what we wrote on the stream when I have the time. It's not always that I do that, but this time I went over what we had and I found a silly bug. So you know how we are smoothing out the parameter that determines the pitch? Well,
yeah,
we variable here, but we were not using it. We were using the non-smooth version of that. And that's such a silly mistake because it changes everything. It changes the whole effect. And then I thought I could just drop it here on the track again. And I think that I have you running through here. And then I will put our little effect here. And then we can play with it some more. Okay.
Nice.
Do you hear what I'm saying? The whole ramping, the smoothing of the parameter?
Yeah.
Do you want to have this on for the rest of the stream? Because I love it.
Sure.
And Bo is saying he wants to know where the song is going to be released.
Oh, the usual, the old... Oh, I guess it is annoying because I hear myself. But, Spotify, I'm going to release it without announcing it on SoundCloud first, as I always do. And then, Spotify and all the platforms.
Do you use anything special for that, or do you just go through all the platforms and upload?
No, I think you can't do that. I use DistroKit.
Okay. I didn't. I thought you could. My experience is only with podcasts, and with podcasts there are things that upload for you, but you can always just go and create accounts on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store,
okay,
and Spotify. So I know for a fact that you can create a Spotify account as a podcaster, and then you can just release podcasts on Spotify without intermediaries. But I understand that for songs it's different.
Maybe they're marketing it as like, oh, you need to work with an aggregator, but DistroKit is like pretty cheap. I know it's gone up, but like I guess I got on DistroKit when it was $12.99 a year, and it still is. And like the time that it saves me, because I wouldn't even bother uploading like on Tidal and stuff if I had to do it separately. So might as well for 12 a year. Like I'm like fine deal. But yeah, maybe they're lying. Maybe they want you to think that you need to use them, and in reality you can just do whatever you want.
And there's one thing that I don't know about these aggregators. If you stop paying them, are they going to pull out the songs that you already uploaded?
Yes, DistroKit does. You can pay a one-time fee, which is, I think, per song, something like $35, something like that it was, that it keeps it on forever. But, I mean, yeah, I would, if my songs found some success... If any song makes $35, I'll pay that fee. Otherwise, like whatever.
Yeah. Well, I understand their business model. It makes sense. But I find that it's such a dick move to just take out the songs.
Yeah, especially like if you're like, I don't know, say at the end of the year, your credit card didn't go through or something, right? Like you instantly lose the songs for a while, and then they do kind of like, I don't know, they do something to them so that if that does happen, you get to keep your plays and stuff, but it just goes gray if it's on a playlist somewhere, like it just looks bad that your song is grayed out.
And it's probably for them, from a technical perspective, it's even more work. It's like adding copy protection to a piece of software. It's more work that you have to do to take out the songs after they're already there.
Yeah, they should just let them on there. They already did the work.
Yeah, and maybe they could have something like I don't know, some other solution to the problem, because the problem is if you're not releasing often, then you could just buy 1 month and publish all your songs and then stop paying.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it feels weird because what's going to happen to all these songs when people start forgetting about this? They just don't care about it anymore. Then all this catalog is just going to go away. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and you see it already, like songs that are like, I made a playlist once, which was all people with like under 1,000 listeners or something. And recently I was looking at the playlist and so many of them are grayed out because like those people kind of gave up. Yeah, so it does happen.
Yeah, that's too bad. I'm all in for distributed, non-centralized things, and it's kind of weird for me to be saying this out loud here on YouTube, but in spirit I feel like decentralization is still a good thing. I'm only on YouTube because otherwise no one would find me, but I do prefer the podcast model. I really like because you have to host it yourself, and then there is no intermediary unless you want to have one for convenience. Well, whatever. Okay, so the pitch shifter worked, and other than this fix, I don't think much has changed. I probably changed 1 or 2 things about the way that this line reads. I think we were using the wrap function instead of the follower, and maybe 1 or 2 things here and there, but I didn't change a lot in this code because it is doing its thing. It's just working, and I guess it's sounding similar to other cheap pitch shifters.
Yeah.
Great. Do you want to play around with this in terms of like other instruments going through? Because so far we only played with your voice going through this. Do you want to try to add this to the delay effects, or do you want to do something else entirely? Like we were talking about maybe just doing some Lua.
Yeah, I'm always down to do some Lua for sure. I have some script ideas where, and I'm not I'm not super sure even if what I want to do is possible, but do you want me to pitch it to you? And if you like it, we can do it. And otherwise we can maybe like look at the delay more or something.
Okay, tell me about your idea.
Okay, so this idea mainly is for video editing. And so I'll tell you this. My dream of video editing feature for Reaper would be if you could do, like, say for example, right, you have 3 or 4 images and a couple of things of texts on different items, and you have them kind of on top of each other. So my dream would be if you could put a video processor item on a parent track, and then if the video processor is like image overlay or, you know, something like that, as you like adjust the X offset, all the children items that have videos move with them. But that's not really possible to do. Can you backtrack
and explain this again? Because I'm not sure I understand.
So imagine you have one video item, and then on top of that video item, you have one more item with text on it, right?
Okay.
And you have an image, let's say.
So three items, one image.
3 items, yeah.
Okay.
And one video. So the image and text, let's say they are up top, and you have exported them. and you want to say you want like the image and text to come in from the left of the screen, be in the center, and then move and then go up. So it would be nice if I could put like tracks 1 and 2 in your example into a parent folder, then put a video processor item like image overlay in there. And then just if I automate that or move that, it would like all the children will inherit that. But I don't think like I tested it and it doesn't work like that. So children video items don't inherit the video item of the parent if you're like moving them or zooming in and out on them. So
Correct.
that's a dream, and I don't think we can. I don't think like from what we have access to, we can really do that. But in the meantime, what I was also thinking was like it would be really cool if I have a few like video processor items. They all have like RGB values. It'd be nice if there was like an action to copy like the RGB values from one item and put them into another item. And there doesn't seem to be like a wonderful way of doing it. You can copy all the parameters of a plugin to another plugin, but that's not really what I want, especially if there are two different video processor items. Like one of them is creating a box and one of them is creating text, and I want them to be same color, and I don't want to manually set that. I want it to like the script, the way I have it in my mind is it goes and finds the R and G and B parameters no matter what number they are, and then finds their values, and then goes to the destination and again finds the RGB parameters and pastes those values there.
Okay, and that's going to be based on the name of the parameter.
Yeah, for example, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the first thing is about this idea of the parent having some sort of effect on the children.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the name for this concept, just so we have a name for this, I guess the name for the concept is you want some kind of adjustment layer.
Yeah, exactly. Like most video editors have something like that, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, as far as I know, the video doesn't follow the same route as the audio in the video editing in Reaper. So the way that audio is going to go through is it is going to be affected by the effects here, and then it's going to go to the parent. But video is not like that as far as I understand. Video is just a flat kind of thing where there is no notion of folders. There is no notion of routing that way. And videos don't go from, I guess, folders to parents and from track to another track. So there is no way even for you to route video like this, like what we can do with audio. None of this exists for video. It is just a flat namespace where the items above have access to the children. Yeah. And this is, of course, if you have here the option, this option. Yeah, that one. Like this. Otherwise, it's the other way around. But conceptually, it's still always the case that it's just some items will have access to all the previous items, so to speak. So with that said, there won't be a general way for you to get any number of children. I will organize it like this, even though it doesn't work like that in the video processing engine. But you could have some notion of as long as there are two children, we could write a video processor that is going to affect the two children together. Because we do have access. Yeah, we do have access to these three items. So if I put a video processor here, I have access to these three items independently if I want. That is something that I, for instance, use on my multicam video processor. The multicam works by having an item here, and this, or I guess it's a track effect, but the principle is the same. It will have access to all these cameras independently, and it will do a grid of cameras for you to choose. So it's possible to have access to these guys independently. So if you are willing to do the overlay in this special way where you keep these two as one group, then you could approximate what you want. Now, of course, if you wanted to have an arbitrary number of children, then you would have a little bit of a complication, because in your video processor, you would need a parameter to say how many children to take care of when moving, which is like one
and you
more
need to
parameter.
Say exactly.
Yeah, you need
right.
to-
Like you can't be like up to 6 or something. You gotta say the exact number of stuff.
You have to have some way of knowing what's the size of the group. So you can have a parameter to say that, or you can do it the other way around. You may want to say like, because the parent can also see how many children there are. So maybe you will want to say, okay, the last child is the video, and then however many children there are, that's my group that I want to move together. So it's, as you see, it's not perfect, but it gets almost what you want.
Yeah, it's still not bad, especially because, like, I mean, right now what I do is not too bad. Like, I do it for one of the, like, assets, and then just automation items, and I copy them down to every other item. And, like, in terms of workflow, it's not super annoying. Where it gets annoying is if I have, like, 6 of them, then I have, like, all these, like, lines of automation. It's just, like, taking up so much space on the screen. Even if I inline them and collapse them and all of that, it's just, like, really cluttered and kind of weird. But yeah, that could be cool.
I just thought of something else that may work for you, Arya. It's a different perspective on how this works. So the flat namespace that I was talking about is still true. An item only has access to all the items below. It doesn't know about the hierarchy. But there's something else that you may want to do. And it goes like this. What if you had some sort of video processor that just composites all the children together, and it doesn't try to overlay on top of the video. It just composites all the things together, effectively creating a flat image from all these components. Then you could have something on top that would treat these two guys as, well, it would just overlay this on top of that.
Interesting. And like so compositing, would that be like really resource heavy? I know like some video processor items like the Gaussian blur, if you've ever used that one, really slow everything down. Like once you put those on, you can't really like see the video in any logical way. So I always like kind of put them at the end. So would this be a similar thing to that?
I don't think so, because Gaussian blur is a computation that is kind of expensive. If you think about the way that Gaussian blur works, is every pixel has to look at its neighbors. And it's not just the immediate neighbors. It may be like a square of 3 by 3 worth of neighbors. And then you had to add all of them up and then take the average or the mean. But and that's expensive because you have for each pixel, you have to go through this process of windowing, averaging, and moving. And compositing is just bleeding an image, bleeding another image, and then you're good.
Yeah.
So that may be something that works well for you, because then you just have to put here. Then this isn't an image overlay anymore. This is just an image, or what I would call a composite image. And then here you would do the overlay, or the overall compositing of the scene.
Fun. Yeah, that could be cool.
Yeah, we could do that. It will be a lot of reading the weird documentation for the video processor and trying things out, because there are some things that we'll need that is not even documented. We'll just have to do some trial and error, but I think that's doable. Can be fun. And I want to for a moment talk to Bo here. So C++ question, is there a flowchart somewhere for how C++ works? I'm not really sure what you mean. What kind of, what aspect of C++ are you interested in looking at? Because, well, a flowchart is an explanation of how a process works, and C++ is a bunch of things. It is like how variable assignment works. It is how arithmetic works. It is how the classes and objects and so forth, how they work. So there are probably flowcharts for all of these aspects, or maybe not flowcharts, but explanations of all these aspects. So what is the thing that you are most interested in? Because if you want to see how the whole language works, that's too much. C++ is too much. It's too big of a language for that.
Flowchart.
Yeah. So, Arya, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is, I think I understand this idea, but that's not the only idea you had. You also said that you have this idea of copying and pasting parameters for scripts, right? For video processors.
Yeah. And I mean, like my use for it would be kind of like RGB values, but I think it would just have like if we script it kind of broadly enough, it would have use like for audio as well, of course. Say you want to like copy the threshold and ratio values from two compressors that are different brands, and the parameter number may be different. So basically it's a way of like matching parameter names across 2 bits of effects. And possibly it would be like a couple of scripts, right? Like one to copy and one to paste. Maybe it has a dialog box that opens when you run it that says like, which values do you want to copy? And stuff like that.
And do you think that interacting with this kind of user interface would be easier or more productive than just opening the 2 plugins and copying the values by hand?
I think like so again, like if it was so in the compressor example I gave, probably not. Especially like, I mean, the two like different threshold or ratio, like maybe not ratio but threshold values could be different in terms of like the scale of them. So maybe 50% of the way of one threshold versus another would be different values. So it won't be useful for that. But I mean, imagine like if you had like a text that was like a certain shade of blue, and then you wanted a line and a box to be the same shade of blue. It takes some time. Like you gotta basically, I like what I do right now is I just memorize like the RGB values, and then I just manually put it into the other ones. So after a while, it starts to take some time.
Interesting. Yeah, that's probably something we could try to script. My guess is that it would be a kind of a brittle script that would only work for kind of your use case, and it wouldn't be too general, probably, because it is probably too complicated to even figure all of these parameters out. I mean, when I am writing my video processors, I don't follow the same names as other video processors use. So it wouldn't work
So
for
what
my
I
kinds
was
of video processors, I
thinking,
think.
so I was thinking like, yeah, like the names, like so some video processors like just call them RGB, some call it like color R, color G, color B, stuff like that. But maybe since all of those like whatever the parameter is called, what it's adjusting in the video processor is the same value. Like if we would kind of get around the name and get into like the color itself, maybe that would work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
so it's kind of like if it was like GFX H, GFX W, like some people maybe call it W and H, some people call it height and width. But if we just go and find that like the function name, then maybe we would get around that issue, if that makes sense.
to some extent that would work. But here, let me show you a video processor that I think would break your assumptions. And of course, it's okay if it works for 1 or 2 scripts. It's okay. It's good enough. but let me show you, because it's also something kind of cool that I think you will like. Yeah, so it's a video processor that creates this kind of widget.
Cool.
And it can even work with markers here that will stretch time and that will change the time signature and everything. It's a very cool little thing. And the way that I set color on this fellow is with this. I have a palette of colors and I scroll through the palette. The same palette used in the design system for like your website, for instance.
Yeah.
I am pretty sure that no one else is using this.
Right.
So
but I mean, so in the video processor, are you still not using like the GFX set function to set these values, like in the code itself?
I am. Well, I'm not using GFX set. I am using GFX RGB explicitly,
right.
but the principle is the same. It's just that this is a variable, and this variable is dependent on other things that come from here, and then here I have other ways of setting that. So there is a whole logic here to do this palette kind of thing. I'm pretty sure that this is not going to work.
And did you add an image to this video processor? Like, is there an image involved?
No.
That creates this table?
No, the table and the numbers in there and even the scrolling, all of that is done with the code.
Okay, and is it possible to actually like have a video processor item that's essentially just an image? And I'll tell you what I need it for. So you know when you like release a YouTube short or an Instagram video, there's some elements on the screen, like there's a heart to like stuff, there's like the description below, and you can't like hide those. So basically I want to add like an image to my monitoring effects that has a rough guideline of like the safe zone for a vertical video.
I see.
But I couldn't figure that out.
Well, I don't think that's possible because from a video processor, you can only bleed what's already on some of the items. You know, what is the content of some item already. It's not like in the user interface of JS Effects where you can load an image from disk.
Right.
That is not available here. So I don't think you can load an image. I guess the best thing you can do is just measure
Like
the safe
lines.
area and draw some rectangles or lines.
Nice. Yeah, that could be useful too.
It's not ideal. It's not perfect. I guess maybe another thing you could do is just have some sort of track with an item that is the image, and it just goes across the timeline.
That's what I do now. Yeah, that's what I do now, and then I like mute the item when I need it, and I have like a image overlay with opacity. Yeah, because so like that one is just a matter of convenient. Like if it was on the monitoring effects, I just wouldn't need to like do all of that. But yeah, that's a very minor thing. The more major stuff is like the RBG thing or the other like compositing thing.
Yeah, I guess you should do the compositing because it will be a good exploration of how the video processor works and how you have access to the media on the video processor.
Sure.
I guess that could be fun.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit when we made our other video processor, where like when we first made it, it would like put a blue screen, and then we had to actually tell it to like get the previous item and all of that.
Yeah. And it could be a good exploration of these parts of the API that are not even super well documented. It could be fun. But let me answer or try to answer Bo's question of C++ in comparison to JS effects. C++ as a language, I don't think so. I don't think there's any kind of comparison like that. But there are parallels to be drawn between the init, sample, GFX block, and all these notions that exist in JS effects. A parallel between those concepts and what exists in VSTs, audio units, and so forth, or even in frameworks like Juice, iPlug2, and so forth. So when I was explaining, I guess it was on the second meeting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on the second meeting of the C++ study group. We went over the code that Juice generates, but really it's the same spirit as the VST API itself and the audio unit API by itself, and even other frameworks like iPlug. The structure of the code is similar because it has to do the same things. It has to initialize, it has to process audio, it has to draw some user interface. So of course the structure of the code will be similar in all these cases. And so in the second meeting, we went over the code that Juice generates, and I was drawing parallels between Juice and JS effects. So you may be interested in watching that one. Or maybe you were there for that and you wanted to dive even deeper. But the spirit is there. It's just instead of calling it sample, it calls it process block. And instead of GFX, it calls it the editor. And the terminology is a bit different, but the concept is the same. But it's not a flowchart. But I guess it's the closest you'll find. And I don't think there is a lot of intersection in terms of JS effects and C++ when it comes to educational materials. So I guess we are it. I guess the best source these days is our YouTube channels. Yeah, okay. All right, so Arya, do you want to try to do this compositing kind of thing?
Sure, yeah, sounds good.
All right, so I will first add real things here. Instead of just having empty items, I will add, I guess, a couple images, or maybe even a video, something like that. Okay. I guess I will start by creating a project real quick. And then, I don't know why I'm doing this in this roundabout way. And then in there, I will want to have a couple images. So I guess this can be an image. And this can maybe be the video below. And it shows up in the video processor. Then for the composite image, I think that the text, you usually have a dedicated video processor here that does text, right?
Yeah.
You don't have an image of text. So that one we don't have to worry about, but this is going to be like the background on top of which the text is written, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for that, how about we use my face? Give me a moment.
Sure.
I think that will do. And this is the image right now. And by default, Reaper is just going to cut between the two. So when the cursor gets here, it will just cut to my face. Great. And then we will want to have this as an item there. And then this will be the adjustment layer. I will stretch things so that they last longer. And we'll also need another item here that will be doing the final compositing. Right, so let's try to get the text going on. Do you have a preferred way of drawing text? Do you use one of the presets, or do you do it by hand?
I just use, I used the like default, what is it called? Or recently I've been using our the one that we wrote together, the screenwriter one. But for testing, we can just use the overlay text preset. That's the default.
This one, right?
Yes. Oh, yours is text timecode? Did you modify it yourself, or is this something I don't have?
This is what comes with Reaper. I didn't touch it.
Oh, okay. Okay. The name is slightly different, but yeah, it looks the same thing.
So right now the video processor is supposed to be writing my name over my face. That much is
And
working.
I guess you would put an image overlay on Leandro to have like the background video showing as well.
Oh, but that's not what I want. That's not how we want to reason about this, right? Because it's not the face that is on top of the background. It is the whole thing that is on top of the background.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put an overlay here. I'm going to do something with this item.
Okay, gotcha.
So let's put a video processor in there. And at this point, we could use the overlay preset, but I don't know how well that's going to work.
It needs. I think it doesn't work if it's not on the same item.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess at this point we might as well start playing with code. We are going to write some things by hand. So first of all, if I have a video processor that doesn't do anything, nothing happens. Great. What if I just bleach 0? That is supposed to bleach the topmost item, which is the compositing. It's this item here. What if instead I bleach input track of 0? It's supposed to bleed the first child, I think. And the first child is this. So that's working. What if I do 1? Okay, now it's bleeding my face. So now it's bleeding the second child. And if I go to 2, it's bleeding this. It's bleeding the third child. Does it make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we want is to bleed, in this case, the second child, the third child, because there are going to be 2 items in this group, and then the third child is the background, and then we GFX bleach 0 on top of that. But the problem is that this second bleach is overwriting what was already there. The black parts should be transparent, right? For this to work. I think that the trick is to use a color space of RGBA, and and that is part of the answer. In fact, if you look at the code for the video processor that does overlay the preset that comes with Reaper, you see that it does set... not this one, though. The image overlay.
Image overlay, yeah.
Yeah, it sets the color space to RGBA. So that's part 1 of the problem. It's setting the color space here. The second part of the problem is that I think, at least, as far as I understand, this thing here that is actually drawing the text is not making the background transparent. So I guess now this item here has a dark background, a black background, and then Of course, this is not going to work because this is black. So I think that we need to tweak what's happening here. Is this doing some kind of color space situation? Doesn't seem like it is.
This doesn't. I think what is happening is the image of your face, because if there's no image overlay preset on an image or a video, it just stretches it to screen. So because this is like a circular image, it's stretching it to screen, but it's got a black background for the rest of it.
You do make a good point.
So it's not the text itself, it's the image below it.
That's a good point. So let's take the text out of the equation. And then in this case, we don't want to plot number 2. We want to plot number 1. And like this. So now we are plotting this. This became number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I should be using input track 0. Okay. And then now our goal is to have my image on top of the background, and then we'll bring in the text. Let's use this to preserve aspect ratio. Otherwise, my image looks wrong. And now I brought my face specifically because I know that this is actually transparent. This is not black on the original image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, alpha layers become black.
Right. So now our goal is to have the real transparency come through. I forget what we need to do here. So how about we cheat and look at code that I wrote in the past? This mask situation will do transparency, but I guess it's doing that in a kind of a heavy-handed way because it's using this eval rect, and we don't need to get into that. Let's look at some of the other ones. So this color space RGBA seems to be important, and I am using it wrong apparently because I'm using it with single quotes. And what else? This is also using the eval rect trick.
I think the GFX mode multiply, is that not what we want? We want to...
I don't think so, because this mode is going to multiply the pixels from one image to the next. So we first split the background, and then we are about to split my face on top of the background. If we switch to mode, multiply is the number 3. Then you see how it's literally taking each pixel of my face and multiplying by what's below. So when my face doesn't have any content, that's a bunch of zeros, it's being multiplied by the picture finder here. And 0 times something is going to be black. And when there is some information, it is going to be a mix of the two. It's going to multiply pixel by pixel.
Yeah.
Like that. And
I actually do need something like this as well. So, like, can it do like dodge and burn and things like that as well? Like divide and...
It can do some things. It cannot do a lot, but we can check what it's able of doing. So it can do normal bleeding, and normal bleeding is just replace what was there. It can do additive, add to what was there. It can do multiply, and multiplication is very different when you're multiplying pixels whose color space is RGBA. And what is YUV? I forget. It's luminance and I forget.
Luminance, chroma, hue?
I forget.
Something, yeah.
And then there are some things that are only valid on these color spaces, so let's not worry about that. But then there are some flags here that we want to look into. So this is to enable filtering if possible. That's not what we're looking for, but to use the source alpha if we are on the RGBA color space. That is promising.
Cool.
So how about we use that like we used in the old script? How about we use that flag? So I don't want to use multiplicative mode. I want to still use normal mode. I don't want to add or multiply to what was there. I want to overwrite, but I do want to use the source alpha. So I will switch to a mode that is 0 or this. What is 0 or this? It's this. So if I just do that, now it's doing what we wanted.
Cool.
Though it is kind of weird, isn't it?
It's changing the size. So with the image overlay, it'll make your picture like the actual size. I don't know what the size of like the video track image is, if it's 1920 by 1080 or if it's like another value. But like yeah, if your face image was like a smaller resolution than the main file, it would just go to the center of that. But right now it seems like yours is still kind of staying at a bigger size, and the video below it gets made smaller.
Yeah, that's very weird. But in general, we wouldn't have to think about it this hard, because in general, the video is going to be in the right format. So I'm just going to hard code here real quick. The project dimensions. So this way I am forcing the bleed of the Finder image to be in this particular space here. So I guess this is not enough. Let's also have and maybe I will have to set the preferred video size. It seems like it is set. And there may be more things that I would need to set here, but I don't think that this will be an issue in your use. Perhaps if I do this to the other one, it works. It changes. But I guess the main lesson is you have to set the color space and you have to set the mode. And I guess you can set both of them before you do any drawing. And as long as you do that, it will preserve the transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's so odd that it seems to be bleeding this.
It's cropping the Finder video below.
It
somehow.
is. And that is so weird.
You know what I think it is? It's only generating the part of the Finder that coincides with your image and not the rest of it.
Yes, it seems to be the case. And let's play around with additive mode. Then it doesn't happen. Let's play around with multiplicative mode. Okay.
Cool. Kind of weird that it goes away, then it comes. What if you just put a 0 there where there's a 1 now? Oh, weird.
Yeah, and we don't have any other video processors going on, so it couldn't be that we are messing things up on the other video processors. That is odd.
Very odd.
I will try to bleed. So this is me bleeding the background image, and this is me bleeding the foreground image. On the foreground image, I'll just move it around to see what happens. Ooh, spooky. I'm trying to get rid of this junk below. And this is the kind of thing that I don't think is particularly well documented, how you're supposed to reason about these things and what can go wrong. And this is what I mean when I say that some things are not really documented all that well. Or maybe I just don't understand the documentation all that well. Now that I am doing this, I am forcing the screen to start in a black rectangle. I'm getting rid of all the junk. And then it doesn't seem to be bleeding things in the way that it should.
Yeah.
So maybe the effect that we had before was just kind of an accident. Okay, I guess we're
Sometimes
back.
overall, like even the like built-in video processor items, they're very kind of unpredictable sometimes in the way they work. So and I know that John was saying like he once even sat down with Justin to kind of work through some of them, and I think that's how we get the preset. What is it? Only apply the video processor when there are item on track and stuff like that. But there were also some things that apparently they couldn't figure out how to fix, which is sad.
Yeah, well, the video processor is a beautiful hack. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think I understand why the following behavior happens. We have two places where we can put the GFX mode situation. If we put it here, then when we are bleeding the first image, we are already in this situation where we are respecting the alpha of this image. So we are letting some of the junk go through. I will remove for a moment the black rectangle so we can see the junk. Because to begin with, what was there was junk, right? When you begin drawing in the video processor, the frame buffer is a bunch of junk, and then you begin drawing on top of junk. So the first split, if the first split is respecting the transparency, then it is going to let the junk come through. So I guess that's why we don't want this here. We want it there, so that it doesn't respect the transparency on the first split. It just overwrites the whole buffer, getting rid of all the junk. And then we don't need this hack. And only then do we move into this other mode, because we can respect the transparency of the overlay, because what is already there is stuff that we want to keep. So that's part of the answer. Now, the other interesting thing that is happening is it seems to be revealing some of the background image only with respect to where my face is.
Yeah.
And that is super weird. So I guess I will do the color space here to try to get that better. Doesn't work. I also tried the different quotes. Doesn't help. I think that the color space should be good to appear here on top.
So like in that input track function, you have 0, 1, 1100. The 1000 and 100, what are those?
They are the X and Y coordinates. So yeah, that's the next thing that I want to explore. I just put some images in there with no particular aspect ratios in mind and everything. So how about I come back here and I resize the images so that they have specific sizes that I know, and that's more realistic anyway. So I will say that the image underneath is going to be 180p.
Cool.
And then my face is 600 by 600. We can just remember
That's
that.
good.
So now the background image should feel...
Can we do something like for your image, instead of kind of saying its coordinates, saying like it's project width divided by 2 and project height divided by 2, so it's like centered regardless of size?
The bleed function expects as coordinate the top left of what it's drawing. So if you want the thing to be centered, you can use project height divided by 2, but I guess you want to do that to the overlay. So you could do this, but you would have to subtract the width of the image divided by 2.
Oh, I see. So that's kind of tricky because it will be different per image.
Yes.
And you can't like get image width or something like that, I suppose.
You can get some information about that. Let's look into that real quick.
I guess I'm just getting an understanding of this too, where in the video processor, the lines at the top are for the bottommost layer, and then the lines closer to the bottom. Like right now, your first GFX blit is for the background Finder image, and your second one is for your face, right?
Exactly. So when the code runs, it runs as typical code, running from top to bottom, left to right. And so the buffer that we see, the frame buffer that will be the image, it starts as junk, then code starts running, and then things are being drawn in order. So this is the first thing that we draw. That's the background. Then we switch to a different mode, and then we draw something else. That's the foreground. And okay, so this is different. Now that I have an image that has the right aspect ratio, it seems to be showing up here differently.
Yeah, kind of.
It's showing up like this. Also, it's not centered. So, because that's the size.
There's a bunch of junk around.
Yeah, I got the wrong part of the code to change. So I want the width and height to be this. Okay, this is better because at least it's not messing with what was there on the screen, I don't think. It kind of is. It's jumping
it kind
around.
of moves it.
I wonder if I just take all of this out, if it works now. Yeah, it does.
Did you replace the video with the one that you exported? Like the image on track 5 right now, is it the right aspect ratio or is it the previous thing?
Well,
if you have set if your project,
it's supposed to be the right thing.
Is your project setting to copy to project path? Because if they are, then it won't be.
No, the right image is right here. So if I just remove this and re-add, there should be no question about it.
Right.
This is the image with the right dimensions.
Cool. Yeah, so now it's not moving.
Yeah, perfect. Now it's just the image that we are bleeding on top that is not coming through correctly.
Yeah.
So I want to bleed this guy, and this is just preserve aspect ratio. Then this is the X and Y. Yeah, X and Y, width and height. X and Y, width and height.
Cool.
So this is where I'm drawing to. I want to draw to the middle of the screen. And this is where I'm drawing from. So this shouldn't be that. It should be 0, 0. I'm drawing from 0, 0 to 600, 600. And there you have it.
Beautiful.
My face on top of my computer. Much like real life, isn't it? My face on top of my computer. But that's not the end goal. Because now we have to bring back in this text overlay, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I bring it back, we now have to number these guys. This track here is now track number 2 because it's the third child. And then it's back. And this guy is still track 0 because it's the first child. It's this. But the coordinates of this have changed because now this guy here occupies the whole screen.
Yeah.
So now this should be 0, 0. Well, I guess I don't need to do the coordinates thing. If it occupies the whole screen, I don't need to put the coordinates explicitly because I think that that's the default. And there you have it.
Cool.
And yeah, it glitches a little bit here because these items are misaligned. Okay, shouldn't glitch anymore. Great.
Cool.
And I will also split all 3 of them. Yeah, just like this. So now it's going to go in and out perfectly. And this is still not exactly what we want.
Yeah, because I feel like it made now the video track video smaller. Because it's fitting the text below the bounds of that item. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think it was, the image was like that because the print screen I took, this is kind of, has a little border.
I know what you mean. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. To make this abundantly clear, I can do the following. I can put a video processor there, and then I can GFX set 100, GFX fill rect 00, project width, project height, GFX split of 0. And then no red is coming through to prove that the image is taking up the whole screen.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, but I think that actually what we did already reaches the end goal. Because this composite image kind of thing here, it's the adjustment layer, it's already doing the job of the overlay. It's already compositing the whole scene.
Nice.
It's already looking at the first child and putting it on top of the third child, just like this. So I guess this does what you want.
Nice.
And if you wanted to move this text around, right? Because that's the end goal, to be able to move this whole child as one thing. It is one thing now, so we can just move it around. We can just say 100, it goes to the right. We can put it as a slider.
Can we, like, if you just add another video processor with the image overlay preset to go after this video processor, will I just be able to move it using that?
Well, you are going to move the whole thing, including the background. But that's not what you want.
No.
Yeah. So what you want is to have something like this, where the parameter index can be 1, the variable name can be x, the name can be x, the default value can be 0, the minimum 0, the maximum, the center value, what is...
Do these values need to be hard-coded?
These specify the range of the x parameter, so I do.
Oh, but what I mean is, like, does it have to be 1920? Can it not be project width? So whatever size it is, it works.
Oh, so this?
Yeah, could it be that?
No, it cannot be that, but it
No,
can be.
sad.
But it can be a number between 0 and 1.
Oh, that we then scale to project
Yep.
W. Cool.
And then, let's see. So this is 1, and this is half, and this can be something like this. But to be honest,
All right.
I do prefer to have explicit numbers here. I do prefer to have like 4K maybe instead of 180p. I would have 4K in the range. Or maybe this could even go to -1 because you may want to have it scrolling from the left.
Yeah.
But then I guess I
Yeah,
would
like
do
be
minus
completely
1920.
off screen. Yeah.
Yep. Something like this would
Go
do.
all the way to the end. Cool. Nice. Yeah. And then if you just double click to reset it to 0.5, that's exactly center. Beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah. So not too much code, but I think it kind of does the trick, right?
Yeah. And so here's my question. So now if there's 3, do I just grab the line GFX split input track to -1? If I just duplicate that and then make that like 3, 4, etc., that'll give me like the ability to control more assets.
I'm not sure I understand. Can you say that again?
So we got an image and a text. Say I have an image and 2 lines of text. I would then need to modify this video processor to add another blit function, right?
It depends on where you want to do the compositing. If you want to do the compositing, I guess this is irrelevant. But if you want to do the compositing of the new piece of text here, then you would need to add a line there. But I think it is more ergonomic to just duplicate this layer. And
then new text there.
And then let's do something different to the text on this one. Maybe this is not Leandro, and I will change the Y position so it appears in a different place. So now we have 2 pieces of text, just like described. And then I want to plot first the 3rd child. Sorry, the 4th child, child number 3, the 4th child, and then 0, which is this. So this first split is getting the 0, 1, 2, 3 child number 3. Then we switch to the different mode and we go to child 1, the first child, child 0, which is this guy. But then this alone is already the compositing of all of these guys.
And
then you can move all of them
that
as
works.
a group.
In fact, here's another thing. So like on track 2, where there's a text overlay, right? Like if I'm writing multiple lines of code that are supposed to be moving together, I just put like different video processor items on the same item, right? As FX1, FX2, FX3. So if I do that, then when you do the blit input track 2, 1, will it grab all of them at the same time?
Yeah, let's try that. So what you're saying is that now you no longer have a second track of text.
Yeah.
So we are back to this stage. And then instead of having another item, you just want to duplicate this, put it in a different position, and change the text.
Yeah.
And then you want to move the whole thing as a group.
Beautiful. Nice. That works.
Okay.
So that's that. And then my other question is, what about if we had multiple images? If we had 2 images?
And do you want them to move as a group?
Yeah, for example.
Okay,
And I know I can always do that. Like I can always composite the image like in GIMP, but yeah, just wondering how that would work.
yeah, you probably should do the compositing in GIMP, but let's not. Let's composite this little logo. Let's play around with that.
They're coming for you, or are they coming for me? Is that on my side?
No, they're coming from me.
Oh shit.
So we'll have another track that will be an image. Do you want it above or below?
Above, whatever.
Okay. And this will be Firefox. So I think that the way we should reason about this is in steps like compositing from inside out. So let's mute everything that is not the Firefox logo. Great, it shows up. Now let's bring the Firefox logo on top of my face. So for that, I think we want a video processor on the Firefox logo. And I think it could be okay to just use the default image overlay. So now we have the Firefox logo on top of my face, and they're using the RGBA thing, so it should just work, I think. Yeah. Let's make it like this.
In fact, can we... Oh, never mind. Maybe not. Never mind.
Now let's try to bring
later.
the text on top of the whole composition, and that works. Now let's bring the image below, and that does not show up because this one is overriding. Now let's bring the adjustment layer that does the compositing. But this time we have to jump in and we have to change this.
What if you put an image overlay preset also on your picture? Will that just automatically make it work or no?
Well, it will not move as a group.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so all I had to do was change this number because now we have children 0, 1, 2, 3, and that's our guy. And then it moves as a group. Yeah. I think that about does it,
Beautiful.
right?
Yeah, I think that gets the job done.
Yeah, and this is the point where I reveal the way that I use the video processor. When I use the video processor, I don't go for the presets. I tend to just write code that looks like this because it can be annoying to do sometimes. It can be annoying to like figure out the input track number and whatnot. But once you figure it out, it is just 4 lines of code and it's not that complicated. I find that it's easier for me to reason about this. And even if I need to do things like centralize an image, I can just input the image dimensions like we did 2 minutes ago and divide by 2 and all that sort of stuff. I find that is just more ergonomic than playing around with the thing and trying to find the right place. It's just go ahead and write the numbers in here. It's not that complicated.
Oh, but I mean, if I'm never using it for placement. I'm just doing it with automation so that stuff like comes in. So the placement for it is already figured out because like whatever size image that I'm printing, like even if my logo is like 200 by 200, I export it as a 1920 by 1080p with alpha layer image so that the placement is exactly like where I want. But I just use the X offset automation to have it kind of come on screen or like maybe kind of fade in.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but I thought that was interesting because we had to learn a couple things or relearn a couple things like this and that and the whole reasoning of drawing things on top of other things and how you can reason about groups like that.
Yeah. So I got another also interesting challenge / question for you. So okay, so sometimes I say I have like a text come in, it takes like 0.25 seconds to come to the center of the screen. Then I want it to stay there for 5 seconds and then again take 0.25 seconds to go off screen. If I want to do this to multiple things, I have two options right now and I hate both options. So option one is to have all my text on the same track and then put the image overlay preset on that track and then like arm the X offset envelope, write it once, make it an automation item, then copy it to other items. What I kind of prefer to do is do it on the item level, but when you copy an effect from one item to another item, the automation doesn't go with it. So can we have a way of making
I think I am slow today, Arya, because I am having the hardest time understanding all of this. It's too abstract. Can you walk me through the process of recreating the scenario?
Sure.
Here?
Okay, so go to track 2 and on the item, go and show the X offset automation lane. So yeah, wiggle it, param, show media item, take envelope, top one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now like put a couple of lines there.
You mean just...
sorry, a couple of points. Yeah, something like this. So now make another item like further down the line, like on measure 2, make another empty item.
Oh, empty. Okay.
Yeah. And then say on this one, you have like a different type of text, right?
Can I just grab this one?
It doesn't copy over the automation.
Oh, okay. And you would like to copy the whole item, I guess, at this point, right?
So yeah, I could do that, but let's say I'm doing one with like let's say on one is a text and one is an image, or let's say one is a text and one is a different font and color and size. So I want to set those separately, but I just want the X offset automation to move with my effect.
So we are back in this situation. And you want to copy the automation points.
Oh, you're just okay. Yeah, that works actually. So how did you copy the automation points? You just selected them.
Yeah, I may have copied the whole item. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think you can't copy envelope points from an item like the way you did. Can you select a few of them? Because if you do a few of them, then we'll know that.
Well, I have the hardest time working with automation in REAPER. I'm not even sure if I can select a couple points, let alone copy a couple points. I don't know how to select a couple points. Oh, I think I did it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I did it.
So if you're just Command and C, Command and V-ing, I don't think it'll work.
Yeah, it didn't work. So I have to select and then copy. Okay, that much works. Now, what if I have an envelope going on here already?
Sure, let's give that a go.
It's the X position, param. And then if I have
I put a label for the thing, yeah.
There you go.
Ah. I still wish it was like one step shorter. Like if I could just copy the thing and it will bring over the automation, that would be like so helpful.
Maybe there is, but this is not something related to video processors. It's related to being
this is
able
just
to copy
item effects.
Yeah, so I guess it would be like copy envelope points take. Nope.
You wrote
Copy take envelope. Okay, copy take mute envelope, pen envelope, pitch envelope. It seems like you need to know which envelope you're copying.
Yeah.
And it does make sense, because what if you have two video processors here? Like, yeah, we have two video processors. And over here we only have one. Or I guess in this case we have two. But anyway, we could have just one in this one. So which one do you want, right?
Well, let's say if it was only one, right?
If it was only one, I think you can probably like copy, take, let's take maybe the volume envelope and, oh, it seems like it is named like this. So I guess it would be a bit more work because you would need to find an effect on the track, and maybe there is no way for you to even get a particular envelope like that, and if you needed to dive deeper, you would need to work with the chunks, which is not always fun to do. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. And like I looked at some of the scripts that kind of copy item automation. They all have like a problem. Yeah, none of them work like, yeah, they all work kind of weird.
Yeah, so let's take a brief detour into chunks, because it's something that I don't think we talked about before, but it is interesting. So internally, every Reaper file is just a text file, and you can find familiar things in this text file. You have a section for the project, then you have a section for tracks, and then you have a section like this is the track of the composite image, and on each track you will find effects chains for the tracks and items. And in the item, you will find this, the takes, and in the takes, you will find effects for the take. And somewhere, we are going to find the automation. This is the envelope, parameter envelope. And from Reaper scripts, we do have access to all of this text, and we can modify this text as text. We don't have to go through the Reaper API to manipulate this if we don't want. So you could always just get a hold of the chunk for the item, then find the parameter envelope in the item, and then go to the other item you want to copy to and paste this there. Should work. Let's do it by hand. So we have just one envelope here, no envelope there. So let me remove the envelope points. How do I remove the envelope points? Like this. We save. And now I am going to find, there should be two occurrences of this. And there are two occurrences of that. The first is this one, the second is that one. One is full of points, the other is empty. So what you would need to do in your Reaper script is you would need to manipulate these chunks, which we get as text. And in Lua, we have plenty of functions to work with text. We have seen many of them when we started working in Lua. So all you got to do is just find a way to do this in Lua as opposed to doing it on the text editor. But this is what you want to do.
Can we access the RPP from a script?
You can, I don't know if you can access the whole file. I am sure, and I have done before, you can access this chunk of the RPP. So you can access this much.
Okay. Cool.
Until the end of the item, which should be about here. So I copy and paste it just right. And I think for Reaper to pick this up, I probably have to reopen the project. In Reaper scripts, you can say reload the arrangement view, but we are doing that on Visual Studio Code, so I'll close the project and reopen. And here it is. So you would have to write a script that does this, but I don't think we have time to do that today.
Okay, yeah.
But it's definitely possible.
And I don't think I can do it on my own, but cool, that's a good lead.
Okay. Yeah, we may do this next time if you want to write some Lua.
Sure, sounds fun. I don't know if next week we want to have a guest, as is the 2-week tradition. But I was thinking to ask X-Rame if he wants to.
If you're watching this.
Yeah.
All right. I will let you take care of that.
Sure.
And yeah, all right. In the meanwhile, do you have any final words?
No, stay in school, kids, and yeah, and that's it.
All right. Do I see you again on Friday?
Yeah.
All right. So Friday on your channel. And as for me, I see you all again tomorrow. I will be back to my waveform display. I accepted that this is going to take a whole month. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, the waveform display turns out to be a very complicated part of the system because it has to be fast and it has to deal with concurrency between the audio thread and the user interface thread. So it's super interesting, very interesting component to write. Last time, yesterday on this stream, I wrote some measurement tools to see what the frames per second was. And it turns out that Reaper cannot even hold 60 frames a second if there is nothing going on. Even if the screen is just black, it does not hold 60 frames per second on the user interface thread. So you'll have to make things faster and work around some issues. It will be interesting and fun, and I will be back to that tomorrow. And Arya, thank you very much for joining me and talking about the video processor in Reaper. It is one of my favorite features in Reaper, even though it's kind of an afterthought, so to speak. But I really like what the video processor can do.
Very smart, yeah.
And thank you, Bo and other people who were watching and maybe not commenting, but watching the stream. We know you're out there. And I see you back here tomorrow. Bye. Thank you for watching the stream. You know how great it has been. Or maybe it sucked, and I am glad that you stuck with me. And soon we'll all will be back together for some more coding or talking or chilling. The next time I'll be streaming.